Good Wednesday morning. The NFL trying to get things together to figure out everything that's going to happen the rest of the way after the Damar Hamlin injury. Not a ton of updates from his family. His uncle did come out and speak and gave a few positive updates about his breathing and some other things, but I don't think this is going to be something that is going to be resolved in a day or two. I was hoping yesterday maybe we get some positive news. It seems like the recovery and hopefully a positive recovery is going to happen over a long period of time. And, of course, now we try to figure out, and the NFL continues to try to figure out what to do with the game on Monday night and what to do the rest of the way, because I think there's no other choice than to play this week. You got to play this week. I don't think that anything else should be on the table other than that. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Gene. I think you captured everything going on with Damar Hamlin right now. I mean, we had an update from our CBS researcher and news editor, Jody Lotson, last night at 2:30 in the morning. She is working on this thing constantly, making sure that we are reporting facts and that you know the difference between facts and our opinions. And we don't want to, say anything that doesn't come from the family themselves. And even the uncle who gave an impassioned interview yesterday, you could see how broken up the family is and everything else. You want to respect their privacy, and we all want to do that. And I think Jody does a great job making sure we know exactly what is going on, what is being said, what is official. We're not doctors. I'm a former football player, been through things like this before, not somebody that is as significantly injured as this and has to deal with what he's dealing with. But I will say this, and you said it again, the NFL is talking about Week 18, and it seems inconsequential that you would talk about games and things of that nature. We all in life are presented sometimes with problems and issues. We have people that, struggle in our lives, but we have to continue to work. We have to continue to show up. We have to continue to do what we normally do, what we get paid to do. That's who we are as human beings. And I do understand the reflection and the prayers and everything that we're hoping for the Hamlin family and Damar himself. The NFL has got to continue to go on. It's got to go on. It has to. There's too many people. There's too many. It's just too much to shut down. There's too many people that lives depend on it. From stadium workers to
Sure.
TV people to all the people behind the scenes that nobody ever sees, to all the football teams themselves, who probably employ close to 400 to 500 people themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about yesterday, and I know that some of these comparisons aren't great comparisons because it's apples and oranges, but, we see some first responders, we see cops and firemen in the city that see their colleagues, their friends, their partners get injured or sometimes killed on the job, and, eventually they got to go back and work. And that can't be an easy thing either. So we're not trying to diminish what the Buffalo Bills went through, what the NFL players are feeling, but there's all walks of life that go through tragedy and then eventually pick up and move on because that's what you have to do. And doing that doesn't mean you're disrespecting anybody or anything. It's just what we do as humans.
As a matter of fact, I would think that the outpouring of warmth and love that the Hamlin family and Damar's initial charity have received to the tune of over $6 million from NFL fans, from NFL players, from all athletes all across the spectrum. Just goes to show you how great this country is and how great the game of football is and how it does bring people together of different backgrounds and different ethnicities. And, you can go through all of it. And we all have something in common. We love the great game of football. We love our football players. And we appreciate the risk that they take when they actually step on the field.
And this was the perfect storm for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, to get this type of support from the country, that is the fact that you have a guy that once you learned about him, how great of a kid he has been in his life up to this point and into a man and an NFL football player. So right away you knew that this guy was just, one of the examples that we don't talk enough about in the NFL of the good guy doing the good things.
And by the way, his teammates all say, they are living their dream.
Right.
This is what they've wanted to grow up to be and to be a part of. Because as I can tell you from 14 years of experience, it's a really, really special place.
Right. And then also the fact that the Buffalo Bills and their fan base is what it is. how they have stepped up in the past, as you mentioned, with other charities for other players, and that they're so close-knit, the Bills Mafia. And it was on Monday Night Football, too, so it was for the world to see. So that's why I think it really touched so many people, and because it's like, the lead story on every newscast and every cable news and everything else. I mean, it was really a lot of things aligned for this to touch so many people the way that it did.
Yeah, I see where there, players are saying maybe there should be applause and things of that nature.
Who said that?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, was thinking about reflection and all that. He's coming through a lot of different things this year, but I and I understand he has his opinion. He's should have his opinion, and it doesn't mean we can't all multitask as human beings. And like I said, the league has to go on. It has to move on, and the league is not taking their eye off of Damar Hamlin. And they'll learn from this. We'll all learn from this. Where there's tragedy, there are opportunities to learn from that tragedy and make sure that maybe something like this never happens again, because it's never happened before this. So now it's the first time. Now everybody's reacting to it. And I'll tell you one thing. I think about the doctor in Cincinnati. I think about the on-field personnel there. I think about how the NFL really cares about player safety. Other people out there may not think so, but I'm telling you they do. I know of different meetings that they have during the year, their player safety meetings, their collaboration meetings with ex-players, ex-coaches, and doctors, and they sit in rooms, they look at tapes, they look at hits, and then they try to determine, is this a bad hit, is that not a bad hit, and, things of that nature. So there are a lot of things going on all at once, and one of the things that we can do is we can pray for Damar, and we can hope for his family, and we can support the way that we've supported, but we also have to move on. We also have to continue to play, and we have to continue. This is who we are as Americans, too, by the way.
Oh, sure.
We just keep pushing through, never forgetting where we came from.
Yeah, I mean, and it was the right thing to postpone the game the night of the game.
100%.
There was no doubt about that, but I also believe it's the right thing to do to go on and play the games this weekend. I mean, I couldn't imagine any other outcome.
Well, remember, after 9/11.
Yeah, there was a week
all
off.
Sports paused.
Right, there was a week
and
off.
Everybody did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody did the right thing. But, our president at that time, George Bush, basically said, now we got to get back to normal. We need sports. Mm-hmm. We need people that have an outlet. We need people to be able to come together and grieve together. It's kind of similar in that sense because we're all shooken by what we saw on Monday night. But I also believe that sports, as we have seen out in Cincinnati, with the Bengal fans, with the Bills fans out there, vigils outside of the University of Cincinnati Hospital, people coming together, all praying for Damar Hamlin, that is the best that we have to offer. That's who we are. That's who we are as a society right there.
Yeah, I mean, and
so
you go from, the fans – probably screaming at each other before the game and, getting in each other's faces, a big AFC matchup to everybody coming together after the game, regardless of what color you're wearing, and all pulling in the same direction. But, yeah, I was surprised Aaron Rodgers said that, actually. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised at anything Aaron Rodgers says these days because it could go in any direction at any time. But I would think that most players – now, forget the Buffalo Bills for a second. That's their teammate because that's going to be a more difficult situation.
Or the Bengals who were on the field.
Bengals as well. That's a little bit of a different situation. But I would think that, most players would want to go out there and play, especially if you still have something to play for. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, I mean, you're talking about a game, a play, and in-game for him. I'm sure he would want to get out there. So.
The other thing, too, is that every single stadium, every single player, every single pre-game ceremony, if you want to call it that, will reflect on Damar Hamlin and ask everybody for mountains of prayers.
Yeah.
That's basically what's going to happen, and I think that's what should happen. That's appropriate. And while you never forget who Damar is and the fact that he was a football player, I would also think, and I know just in speaking to my family members and people around me, that I've said to them when I was playing, that the show must go on. I mean, it's like I was injured 4 or 5 times, some significant, knocked out, laying down, sleeping on the field up in Buffalo, scary time, and but the game's got to go on. The game is big, and the game means a lot to a lot of people, and not just for winning and losing. It's just it's a society. It's who we are as American sports fans.
Yeah, and speaking of football as the game, one thing that with the coverage of this yesterday that was annoying to me was the fact that they wanted to turn this into a football is violent. How do we change the game? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? And at least from hearing some experts out there, and I know that these aren't the doctors that are treating or treating Hamlin. I can't believe that this is something that's going to reoccur every week in the NFL or every year in the NFL. I mean, this Damar Hamlin injury was something that was a confluence of a couple of things that was probably one in millions. And one cardiologist, trauma doctor, said yesterday that was all over the place doing interviews, forget his name, but he said that you got to hit the right or wrong, depending on how you're looking at it.
It's timing, the whole thing is timing.
Part of the heart at the right beat, and it's like a millisecond that you catch it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what happened. But, for the discussion to be, oh, man, how could this is just so barbaric. We got to make changes to the game. I'm sorry. That's not what happened here. It's just,
there have been changes to the game.
Exactly.
And there have been major changes to the game. And there will always be injuries that are a part of the game. And it's an assumed risk that we as players all take. And we take it gladly because we grew up playing the game that we love. We've learned so much from the game that we love. We got a lot out of it. And I've often talked here for about 16 years now about the virtues of football and discipline, teamwork, responsibility. All of those little things that we take for granted in the world, come from being a part of a football team because the coach holds you accountable. Your teammates hold you accountable. You're accountable to your teammates. You have the pressure of making sure that you're not the one that fails on a given Sunday or Saturday or Monday night. The other interesting thing about these injuries, this injury in particular, is that it happened at Paycor Stadium. It used to be known as Paul Brown Stadium when it first opened out there in Cincinnati. And Vontaze Burfict laid out Antonio Brown. Ryan Shazier got hurt on that field. We saw Tua Tagovailoa get hurt on that field. And now this is the fourth major injury that we have seen come out of Cincinnati or a Cincinnati game. And I think it's just a coincidence. I don't think there's anything to do with the field or any of this because these are, I did the game, the Ryan Shazier game. It was a Monday night game. I believe it was a Monday night game. And I was there and I did the game. And I remember he actually was going to make a tackle and he hit the hip of the tight end of the Bengals and he didn't get up. And that was a tough one.
Yeah.
And then we all saw what happened with Tua. That was a discussion for about 3 weeks.
Now it's a discussion again because he's got another concussion.
Well, I know that, but everybody was just mortified about what they saw on the field, and I'm like, this is an NFL game. It is a violent game. They've tried to take a lot of the violence out of the game. They've tried to legislate some of the stuff out of the game via the rules and fines and things of that nature. I think we do see improvement in that area, significant improvement. I don't know how they can make it better. These are young men flying at each other to the tune of anywhere from 10 to 20 miles an hour. It's the game that we love. It's the being a part of that locker room. Yeah, you may say that it is some sort of testosterone-filled psycho ward. But you know what? We all are in there, and we all love it, and we all eat and drink and sleep it, and the excitement, the anxiety, all of that stuff that goes into it is what makes it so great to be able to play it.
Yeah, and I don't know why the spotlight is always on football. I guess because it's the most popular sport, it has to be because of that. But there's so many other things that think about UFC, think about boxing. I love going to a big fight. We've been there together, getting up close and watching that. And you want to talk about barbaric, it is, but I enjoy it, and lots of people do enjoy it, but there's not a lot of discussion about, man, we got to just eliminate UFC and boxing because look at how there's some of these guys, they're post-career, and this guy got knocked out, that guy got knocked out. But when it's a football situation, it's like, oh, my God, this is such a horrible sport. How could you do all these things? You got to make it even safer than it is. I mean,
let me ask you a question.
It's crazy.
So many of these players, now I will say, not in college and not in high school and not in lower levels of tackle football, but I would say in the pros, most of them all make over $1 million a year.
Yeah,
and it's getting better and better and better financially for them. Now the older guys, a little bit different story, but and we've learned from the older players. We've learned the difficulties that they deal with later on in life. I may end up dealing with some of those difficulties. I don't know, but I do know, and I am aware of it, and I have taken physicals and been to a neurologist and have gone through all different sorts of testing because the NFL is requiring that from all the older players. So the more they learn, the better they will be prepared for this generation of player. So it's all a part of it. It's gotten better. But then I think about the fire people that go to work, the police people that go to work, the sanitation people that go to work. Every single one of those people could get killed in their line of work.
And every football player in 2023 knows what they're signing up for. There was a time many years ago where we've talked about the concussion stuff and the lawsuits and everything, where the NFL was basically saying that head injuries and playing football wouldn't lead to these things and it wasn't going to hurt you down the line. And they were wrong about that. And there were players that at that point in time believed that football wasn't going to have that type of impact on you. That has changed completely. Every person who signs up to play the game now knows all of the risks, and it's still the choice that they make. So it's not like anybody saying, hey, you're going to be fine every time you go out there. I promise you. And then all of a sudden you leave the game with a concussion or you leave in an ambulance. That's not what's going on here.
It was interesting. I was watching, and I think most of us hockey fans around here, Islander and Ranger fans anyway, got what we needed last night. We needed a little respite, and we needed to get away from all of this and kind of just enjoy our sport. And as I'm watching the game of hockey, you know how many guys got hit in the chest that got driven into the boards, similar to what Damar Hamlin, suffered from the hit with T. Higgins? I mean, it was amazing because now I'm watching it and I'm aware
in a different way. Yeah.
Right. And those guys are on skates, and just think about how hard they're hitting. And that was really a weird game last night between the Rangers and the Hurricanes, but it's exactly what I needed to kind of just okay, I need my 2 hours of just enjoying something without worrying about and having to worry about talking about what happened on a football field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's always a healthy escape, and your healthy escape was the New York Rangers beating the Carolina Hurricanes.
It was a weird game last night, man.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, if there were a screw the Hurricanes button, I would have hit it last night.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, but I don't think anybody really cares up in Toronto. I don't even know if Toronto knows that there's a team down in Carolina.
Probably not.